Welcome to Black and Gold Digital Edition, a behind-the-scenes look at your Pittsburgh Steelers.
Hi, and welcome to Week 15 of our digital show. I'm Jay Pushkar alongside Kent Urbanski and Mike Fenner. And gentlemen, the Pittsburgh Steelers taking a major hit last week, losing to the Baltimore Ravens 16-14 at home. Playoff odds looking extremely slim now. They look ahead to going on to take on the Carolina Panthers. But Kent, looking at the game last week, since you and I were both down there at Acrisure Stadium, what a major disappointment for Pittsburgh, knowing that they had the game within their grasp and they just did not play well.
Right, in a season where every win at this point counts, the people you can't lose to is yourself, and that's what they're doing. And you can't turn the ball over in the red zone 3 times and expect to come out of there with a win. I was looking at that, and these games between the Ravens and the Steelers always play tight, where it comes down to a field goal. You get a blocked field goal. Calais Campbell, man's a giant on the field.
He's huge.
Right, so that swings the game. Those little things right there. So, and when a season's not going well for you, those little things creep up, and those are the things that you got to take care of down the road if you expect to get wins instead of losses.
And even after the game, T.J. Watt said, hey, everybody in the stadium knew that Baltimore was going to run the football.
Right.
And they certainly did that, over 200 yards rushing, and they had their backup quarterback in the game as well. I mean, that's got to be a deflating opportunity for the Steelers defense that has been known to stop the run and help their offense out.
No doubt about it, but it kind of validated what those guys were saying in the locker room last week, because they were not looking ahead and saying, oh man, we don't get to play Lamar Jackson. This is going to be an easy cakewalk. It's like, this game plan's got to be the same. And they really preached that, and they meant it, because they knew, I mean, that's still the way the Ravens want to play. They didn't come in with a totally different look offensively, despite not having number 8 on the field, and they executed exactly the way they wanted to. Yeah, that run defense, again, has come back to haunt them, and that was a really tough out with 215 yards rushing allowed. I mean, that's tough.
And guys, last week we even talked about how special teams was going to be a big factor in this game. And then, Kent, we were listening to the post-game radio shows down in Pittsburgh, and people were really hammering about the punting
17-yard punts. You can't have 17-yard punts in the NFL and expect that not to come back and bite you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is that an issue where Presley Harvin, maybe his job could be on the rocks because they're not getting the field position that they needed?
There's a lot of players that are like that are, and I think, on the borderline of jeopardy, even some of those linebackers who, aren't stepping up to the plate and doing what they need to do to help solidify and stopping that run game. It just seemed like, the Ravens brought Dobbins off the IR to play in this game, and he was just running loose. And I don't know why that happens, where a lot of guys maybe are just trying to do too much and getting out of their lanes and letting that run game just take over. I mean, the Ravens basically killed the last 7 minutes of that game and didn't give the Steelers a chance to get back in it. So that's on them.
And Mike, speaking of linebackers and even the guys up front, a lot of changes this week with the rosters. They were able to sign some guys. What took place down at camp this week?
Yeah, you get Jonathan Marshall off the Jets practice squad, coming in as a defensive tackle, that making up for the loss of Chris Wormley, who's now on injured reserve with the knee injury suffered in that Baltimore game, which I think had a big impact.
Yeah.
You look at a guy like Wormley, he's not a guy that's going to collect a bunch of stats. It's not like he's a guy like T.J. Watt necessarily or Alex Highsmith that comes up with a bunch of sacks or plays like that. But when you don't have a run stuffer in there or a guy that can penetrate and make those plays and fill those gaps, it's going to come up in the box score the other way, where Baltimore has all those rushing yards. So he's a guy with that knee injury, knee injury going on IR, which means he cannot come back unless they make the playoffs. So you get Marshall in there as a defensive tackle. Montravius Adams talked to us in the media about his opportunity coming in late in the season last year and how he kind of built off of that, similar to the opportunity that a guy like Marshall will have on the interior of the defensive line. But yeah, I thought that was an underrated injury within that Baltimore game, that you lose a guy like that to stop the run. And that's going to really hurt your cause there.
And now the Steelers head to Carolina, and it's oddly enough to think that they could go for a sweep of the NFC South. They almost feel like they should be playing in this division the way they've had so much success. But now going to Carolina, I mean, so much talk has been about the quarterback situation with Kenny Pickett's health, Mitch Trubisky not performing well, even Mason Rudolph has been getting some snaps. I mean, there's a lot of circus action going on off the field going into this matchup.
Hey, Carolina's a hot team right now. When they won the last 4 or 5 games now, so
Yeah, the fact they're in the mix in that division race is crazy. Like that division.
And how are they doing it? They're running the football. It's not like they're throwing it all over the place. So the Steelers are going to see a similar front down there, and probably even more stacked lines to try to, take advantage of the Steelers getting run on this past week. It's a copycat league, so that's going to happen. They're going to try to come out and just run it down the Steelers' throat. It's whether the Steelers can come out and respond, stack the box to try to stop it. So if they don't, it's going to be another long day for the Steelers defense.
And Carolina had so much success in their victory at Seattle running the football, and it's amazing that they've been doing it with an interim head coach, changes at quarterback, and yet they've been able to spark the rest of their season, and they may win this division.
It's wild. If they win out, they are the NFC South champion because they're only a game back of Tampa Bay. They own a head-to-head win. They play them again. So if the Panthers win out, they're the division champion. So in reality, there's a lot for Pittsburgh to play for to try to spoil their season and say, hey, we might not be able to win the AFC North, but we're going to knock these guys out from winning the South because, the Panthers control their own destiny, which is crazy to say at 5-8 at this stage of the season, and especially getting rid of Christian McCaffrey, like you talked about. Getting rid of Baker Mayfield, all the tumultuous situations at that quarterback position, the lack of production from a guy like DJ Moore. They have capable guys, but they've not produced the way that a lot of people anticipated. A lot of people thought this could be a dark horse team in the NFC, but clearly 2 teams that have a little bit underachieved at this point, and it could be anybody's game. But crazy that the Panthers can win the NFC South if they just win out.
Especially if they're 3 games under 500. You would have never thought with just a handful of games left that they still have a shot, but here they are. Yeah. Guys, just going into this matchup, what's going to be the key for Pittsburgh? They've had success on the road this year. They can go in and possibly spoil some things. What's the key for you?
Yeah, you're right. 3 of their 5 wins on the road. They're looking for 3 straight wins, 3 straight road wins. So they've won their last 2. Maybe it's just that familiarity with that division. I don't know. Maybe it's just that they can really see some things, scout some things on that tape. But I would say stopping the run again has to be the number 1 key. And then you talked about it on our main show, but just the red zone offense has to be better. I think those are the 2 biggest keys.
Kent, what
Take
about
care
you?
of the football. Don't turn it over 3 times or 4 times or whatever, is by taking risky chances, So take the points if necessary. I hate, playing conservative football like that, but in that Ravens game, 1 field goal would have been the difference between a win and a loss. So you don't want a similar thing happening down there. And you got to do something to stop the run a little bit more than what you have, Keep it, and with the offense, of course, it's got to be balanced again, and we don't know who's under center right now. So if you have a balanced offense, you keep the defense off the field, then that's a recipe for a win.
Certainly be interesting to see when you and I go down to Carolina if it's going to be another Steeler Nation type of support too, because the way they were coming out in Atlanta and then of course in Indianapolis, it might not even be that true of a road game for Pittsburgh, but we'll have to wait and see how it all unfolds in Week 15.
Come on, Jay, get it out.
We're at the end of our segment. You can tell. Guys, thanks so much. Ken Urbanski, Mike Fenner, I'm Jay Pushkar. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for watching. Join us again next week for Black and Gold Digital Edition.